Hello, I'm Robert, and you're welcome here in my busy little shop. On today's episode of What's on My Workbench, I thought I'd bring you along on a little journey here. It's actually been a little while since I recorded a video. You've had a complete string of videos, but we are out of the shop and enjoying a little bit of travel time. So I'm back in the shop, and while I was on vacation, I got an ad from Weaver. And I wonder if anybody else fell for it here. So we're going to see if this turns out to be a good deal or not. But they had a special they were calling Mystery Box. Did anybody else see that? I'm not sure. But it was, or it is, I'm not sure if the sale is still going. My guess is it's probably over by now because I ordered this about a week ago. But it was 50 buckles mixed. That's where the mystery comes in for $50. So $1 a piece for buckle. If there's a bunch of 3/8 buckles in here, I'm going to be probably really disappointed. And then there was 50 snaps, or like a snap you'd use on the end of a dog leash. And then they had D-rings. The D-rings were $20 or $25 for 50 of those. I wasn't really interested in any D-rings. And I guess I did have a little hesitation, but I thought it'd be interesting to see what I ended up with there. I guess really, when you look at the cost of a buckle, if I can get a dozen or 15 buckles out of the 50, sounds like pretty good odds, then I think it'll be a good thing. If I can't, then it'll be a bad thing. And it does go a little bit against what I think is good for me. And what I mean by that is, a lot of times I make belts and people order, I want that belt with that buckle. And so when I start having, we'll call these one-off buckles, then that kind of complicates things because people are like, well, I'd like to have that buckle. Well, I don't have that buckle anymore. So that's the bad thing about it, at least in my business model, is I have, belts on display I take orders for. But I thought it'd be interesting to see what was in there, and I can use it maybe on some belts like the ranch hand belt, that type of thing. Even though, I do have a system that works pretty good there. I've got a stainless steel buckle or a brass buckle that I use, and I get them from 2 different locations. So I guess enough of a ramp up there. I do appreciate you taking time to be with me in the shop. Let's get over here and open it up. I ordered a couple other things that I thought would be some interesting projects down the road. So we'll open it up, take a look and see what's in here. And, let's get over here and open this up. Now, I've had people say, I thought you were a Montana leather person. I'm a person that likes a good deal, and I'm a person that likes good service. And I used Weaver a lot when I first started out, and I got away from them for a few reasons. One was I was able to find a lot of the items I felt at a better price. But I still buy a few things from Weaver, and this is one of those orders. Let's see what we got here. I'll set these out of the way. These are items that I purchased. Yep. And I think, this is something outside of that special. I've got a bag coming up that I thought that would work good for. And I'm not going to get into these items. Those are for a totally different project. Let's get in here and see. So I purchased 2 mystery, I thought it said mystery box, but maybe they're mystery bag. Either way, came in a box, but they're in a bag. And so I got 2 that were buckles and 1 that is snaps. Let's look at the snaps first here. I use snaps typically on some dog leashes. That's unusual. I use them on the ends of straps for bags at times. That's kind of different, isn't it? Well, let's hope there's 2 of those in there. One of them I'm not so sure about, but 2 of them I could maybe use that on a bag. The little double guy there. Some of these I'll put back in bags. That's an unusual one too. If they're all ones, that could be a little disappointing. Well, there I got a pair. Of course, those look like they'd be pretty good for a dog leash. Oh yeah, there's one of those oddballs. That's like a $8 or $9 latch if you need it. I've used one of these. I took the boys and we went dog sledding, and they used an item like this that they would tie the dogs up with, because you can release this under pressure pretty easily. You just pull back on here, and then that flips open and would release the dogs. That's interesting. Where I'll use that. Got some small ones here. I'm gonna let you guys vote. Just put in there if you think the snaps was a bust or a win. $1 a piece. That one's kind of interesting. That looks like you pull down and it opens, but it doesn't. Let's see about this one. Oh, I guess it doesn't really open. It just opens that way. It looked like there was a notch in there for it to swing open. At least there's 2 of those. I could use that on like a bag. I've got some ideas for some different type of travel bags and overnight bags that we'll be exploring this winter. I've had a couple of people reach out with emails of ideas for projects. I really appreciate that, because I tell you what, it's hard to come up with them continually. It looks like they're giving me like 2s, which is good, because I was really concerned I end up with a bunch of 1 buckles. There's 2 sets of 2 there. So what do you think? $1 a piece. These were $1 a piece. There's another one of those. I've only got one of that one and one of that one. Those are kind of oddballs. 2 of those. Those are different. All right, so that's what I've got for the snaps or catches, whatever you want to call it. But there's 2 of those. 3 of those. 1 of them. All right, let me sweep that back in there. Put it in your comments. You can maybe keep your comments open, and then we'll total them at the end here. So snaps, $50. Win or loss? Let me know what you think there. That one's kind of unusual, isn't it? The buckles, I ordered 2 bags of buckles, partially because I thought if they kind of made them up the same, then I'd have maybe some repeats. That's a good thing if they're good. It's a bad thing if they're not. Let's look in this first bag of buckles here. That's Horseshoe brand buckles. They make some nice looking stuff. There's some small ones in there. A lot of center bars. I don't use as many center bars. Maybe I need to expand my horizon some. There's a lot of 1s in here. A lot of 1-offs. There's a little hat band or sandal. Yeah, I probably won't use that. This is really good for like webbing. There's a small buckle. I need a dozen of those. Why not? That's a nice looking buckle. I'm going to have to really think hard to use some of these. I wonder if some of this hardware has come from, they purchased, I think it's called Ohio Travel Bag. And They're probably trying to, you know, combine inventories and get rid of duplicate stuff or stuff that's similar. Yeah, there's two of that one. Yeah. What do you think? I suppose if I can get a dozen out of here, that I'm not much of a center bar person. Maybe I need to expand my horizon some on center bar buckles. Let's get this other one out here and see if we end up doubling up on some of these items that there's only one of. I can make belts that are one off, but typically it won't end up being the right size for somebody. I suppose maybe there's a way I can make a display to show them, but then that's a bunch of work. That's a big old one there. That's a watch band. Watch buckle, 16 millimeter. There's two of that one. Yeah, what do you think? So vote. Do you think that's a win or not? I do think the Horseshoe brand buckles are usually a pretty nice set of buckles. Yeah. If I was making horse tack, there's probably some there. Oh, look, I got another one of those. Now I got two of those. That's good. There's a lot of stuff here. I got to think about that. I do think I'm going to be in that rule of if I can get a dozen out of here, and then I'll probably have to be brave enough just to throw the rest away. To try to organize and utilize all of these. I'll tell you where I might be able to use it. This summer, I had one of my good customers. Well, they're all good customers, but I had a customer that has bought, you know, a few different times and has actually brought customers to me. Like, hey, you know, I brought a friend along today, so they might be interested in X. But that's an interesting one. But where I was going with that is she wanted a unique closure on one of her travel totes, and I used a buckle set there. That might be a good place for some of these type of items, is something along that line. My biggest challenge probably is going to be getting organized to where I know what I have. Maybe the thing to do is to put this in a bag like that and utilize it when I'm making those travel bags, and I just get this out and then dig through here and see what inspires me, to use that, because that would be pretty on the side of a travel tote, with a strap over it to hold the flap closed, potentially. I don't know, mixed feelings. I think I'm more excited about the other bag than these two. Tell me what you think. Is there something here that you think is like an awesome find? This is kind of an unusual buckle. Was there two of those? I could use that on a closure for like a briefcase. Two straps there. Yeah, that might be a good find. Yeah, this is probably, I got mixed feelings. Tell me what you think. Don't go off of my gut reaction here. I want to know what you think there. And I've got a lot of positive thinkers out there, so I know that you guys will be getting the positive juices going here on feedback on this purchase. But they are $1 a piece. I mean, I need to keep that in mind. It is $1 a piece. That's a nice size buckle there, isn't it? That 1 3/4 or 2. 1 7/8. I'd call that 1 3/4 then. All right, let's turn the camera around here. Looks like I probably need to apologize. I don't think my microphone was synced up, so you're going to have kind of an echoey intro there. Or maybe I can just do another intro. But either way, let's talk about this for a second. So I've got 150. Should I count it? Make sure that they didn't shortchange me on that. 150 pieces Oh, that was the other thing. If you buy 2 of their mystery bags or boxes, I swear it said mystery box, but maybe it's mystery bag. But if you buy 2 of them, you got a third one for free. So there's another part there. So I paid $100 for 3 of those. So now they're instead of $1 a piece, they're 66 cents a piece. Is that right? I think I'm doing the quick math right way that way. Probably my biggest challenge is going to be to organize it, but I think what I'll probably do is just put them back in the big Ziploc bags. Maybe I'll sort by color, and then the next time I'm doing a travel bag, I'm thinking about adding a closure strap to the top of that bag. I've had a couple of people ask me to do that, and I think it really adds to it. But as I mentioned earlier, I'm really thinking about not necessarily scrapping that design, but seeing if I can do an about face and come up with something that is more attractive to people that they'd be more excited about. So maybe some extra pockets or organizers or zippers or closures. I guess we'll have to see what comes from that. If you've got ideas on what I could add to my travel tote, I think you guys have seen it. I've got probably 6 of them left over from this summer. I started off with, I made a batch of 10. I think I may have had 1 or 2. The interesting thing was I still had to make 3 or 4 this summer for people that it wasn't the color they wanted, or it wasn't the size they wanted, or the shape they wanted. So you've always got that. But anyway, let me know what you think there. I think, this is far enough down here. Hopefully you've hit your comments and gave me a thumbs up or down for each one of those items. But, we'll see what you come up with there. But I think it's an okay find. I think that the snaps, which was the one I was least excited about, I think I'm most excited about after opening it, because I've got a lot of ideas for some travel bags, and people do like having something that's not like everybody else's, which was interesting. It was an interesting test, I guess, for the psyche of the person buying them. So I made 10 totes. There were a couple of duplicates in there, but they were all slightly different, but they're very similar. There was, out of the 10, 6 were the exact same size, just in different colors, different thread. The 4 of them were some variations in some sizes. And when I put them all out there, I really wonder, and I mentioned this before, does it bring more interest if you have 1 because they buy it, they feel like they're getting the only one, or if you have 10 there, to further that, does that water that desire down because, everybody's going to have one of those. So, I really wonder about that. So I could use this hardware to take each bag and make it its own identity. So, a little bit more work, a few more details on them. Maybe, a couple of them put 2 pockets inside, just that whole idea. And then I had a couple of people ask me about a crossbody strap, even though that's I call it a pretty good sized travel tote, but there are times maybe, when you're moving luggage and trying to get on the plane, that maybe it's good to have a strap across the body to, get your hands free for whatever else you need to do. So, and then I'll go ahead and show you. I know you're like, what's in the other bags? I've looked at these before, and I've never really made one or made anything that you would use one, but these are, I guess they would call them a bag closure. Don't start losing parts. But these go together, and then they pop open. So you make a leather bag that would then pop open or close as it would be. So I've got a couple of designs for that, but that's like a pouch. So maybe like a pouch for an iPad or a pouch for your notebooks, whatever you're trying to organize. But I bought some. They weren't very expensive. I bought, I think, let me look here. Looks like I bought 4 sets that are 10-inch. So for a 10-inch opening on a pouch, and then I bought, these were fairly inexpensive. I think they were like $1.50 a piece. I bought a half a dozen of them that would make a coin pouch. We were recently overseas, and on the euros, the smallest bill is a 5, so you end up with a lot of $1 and $2 or €2 coins, and then you got the 50-cent coin, the 20-cent. In other words, I had a lot of coins, and it was hard to organize that and to pull it out. So it really got me thinking about a pouch to organize change or keys, or you could do a lot of different things with that. I find myself in that mumbling at the end here stage. I appreciate you taking time to be here today. I really do want some feedback from you, and I do appreciate it. I've had some people, like I said earlier, recently that have sent me emails, but put it in the comments. Don't be shy. If you're like, hey, why don't you make X? If you noticed, I do not miss a single comment. I respond to every comment with usually a thumbs up, and I usually respond with verbiage on each one of those. And I think that when you put comments in there, it helps other people, because you may ask a question that they've been wanting to ask, or my answer to your question may help them. Maybe they're shy and don't want to ask that question. I'm gonna wrap up there. Appreciate you being with me in the shop today. Please like, share, and subscribe. But more importantly, I hope you have a great day.